name's McAsh. I'm a fourth year. I study economics and politics. I spent most of my time here at Edinburgh campaigning on a variety of issues. So in my second year, the first big campaign I really got involved in, well, I started an overnight sit-in in the library, the main library, which led to massive increases in the opening hours. So it's now up to 2:30, so until 12. It's open during the summer. We actually have a 24-hour exam period. That's what I got started with, and from then, particularly when tuition fees came in, I got very much involved in the anti-cuts movement. I've organised demos on a national scale and on the National Organising Committee of the National Committee Against Fees and Cuts, and they organised a 10,000 strong demo there. I also organised things through the Feminist Society and Gender Equality. So I'd say that I spent a lot of my time at uni campaigning. Other things I've been interested in doing is I've had a radio show for 3 years on Fresh Air, which has been a lot of fun. I'm not sure how many people have listened to it. And yeah, I think in the future, I suppose, I'm not sure what I want to do yet, but I'm quite interested in going into teaching. At the moment, the fees are obviously a bit of an issue there, so I suppose we'll see. So I think the university needs to reassess its priorities. I think the university used to be very much student-led. It was founded by students, unlike the ancient universities in England, which were all founded by academics. And now I think we've lost an element of that. I think we see examples of the university making decisions that clearly don't benefit students. So for instance, I've been campaigning on the issue of Massing House for a while now. So that's a hall in Pollock that they've turned into a hotel. At the same time as this year, they've told us the first years that there's no space anymore and they have to live 40 minutes out of town in Muscle. So I think that's a really good example of the university not acting as a university, not acting in the interest of education and in the interest of students, but instead running a hotel. And I don't understand why it's running a hotel. It's not like we're not Travel Lodge. So I think that's what I care most passionately about. I'm also interested in making information more readily accessible. Kind of what I was saying before about university being for education primarily. I don't see why we can't access lecture notes for different courses, so maybe options you wish to take in the future, or maybe something that interests you. If you're studying a degree in physics, I don't see why you can't read up on philosophy if that's what interests you. And then the last thing that I think is always important is about finding ways to save students money, particularly in this economic climate. We have to find as many ways as possible to save students money. So I want to introduce a textbook exchange to get students money back in their books and also get books for cheaper. And I want to introduce a scheme where you can change your energy provider in your private flat that is, to green, sustainable energy, which will save the planet obviously, but also it will definitely be cheaper than what you're paying right now. And I think those are the kind of things that we need to be doing as a student association. We need to be looking outwards in ways that we can have an impact on the wider world. So obviously we can't change the world on our own, but for instance, in 1993, when Eusa voted to become a fair trade union and to only stock fair trade tea and coffee, that year alone doubled the amount of imports of fair trade coffee into the entire of the UK. It doubled just in that. So we can make a difference as students. So I think we need to get the university back to being student-led and student-focused and being for education, because that's what a university should be for. Okay, the first one is the one I just mentioned, cheap green energy. That's something that I would hope to get up and running, preferably even before I even start the job in June. So when people move into the flats this summer, they can change their energy provider and to cheap, green, sustainable energy. So that's one thing I'd like to do immediately. The second thing is the access to lecture notes. So I've mentioned this briefly already, but I don't see why we are taking bits of information, notes on different subjects, and caging it into different areas. The information, once it's produced as lecture notes, is completely free to disseminate. So I want to make that freely accessible and sort of bring the university back to what it should be. And then the last thing I want to do, which is maybe slightly less concrete, maybe more ambitious, but I want to make the university more democratic in a quite a meaningful sense. So at the moment, we have the Students' Association which runs campaigns and things. I feel that's really, really important, particularly for big issues, but we should empower students to make change themselves in a very real way. So I'd like to introduce compulsory, or not compulsory, wrong word, introduce public meetings with heads of school and heads of department very frequently, maybe twice a semester, once a semester, to which every student is invited to come along to, and they can criticise and they can question and they can put their concerns directly to the management, and to be able to say, okay, you said that you're going to do this, but nothing's happened about it. Or you can say, this deadline doesn't work at all, it's the same time as my dissertation, and that's just very, very difficult. And other people in the room can say, yes, no, I agree completely. And then if nothing happens by the next meeting, you can say, well, look, you said you were going to do something about this, we have minutes of it. I think that would create that accountability that we don't really have at the moment with the class representative system, which is always turning over. There's always different people, they don't have that continuity. Having these open meetings that any student can go to, like any student can change their university experience, maybe in a small way, or maybe in a very big way. Why Eusa matters. There are very, very few institutions in the UK or in the world in general where you're completely enfranchised and your vote, sometimes it feels that it doesn't make a difference, but I think it does in quite a real way. So we've run some excellent campaigns in the time I've been involved. I've highlighted a few of them, and if you don't vote, then I feel it's much more, essentially you lose the right to complain, and I know that a lot of people have issues with Eusa and particularly the Eusa Communicates, which I think it often fails in. So if you want to change Eusa, then that's what you have to do. You have to vote, you have to get involved, and I'd hope that in the future, ideally if I'm elected, I'd like to expand the idea of involvement so that it's not all about your elections, but you can get involved in shaping the university in a more meaningful way. But we can only do that with a strong campaigning student association. I want to point to Aurora Adams. She's running for International Campaigns Rep and also NUS Delegate, and she's an absolute inspiration. She's an international student, she's a dedicated activist. She'll be fighting against tuition fees for us UK students, while at the same time campaigning against the frankly racist treatment of international students by the UK border agencies. I think she's going to go far. Maybe whether or not in student politics or not, she's I think going to definitely initiate some real change. And yeah, I'd urge everyone to vote for her.